What up everyone, True Blue here, and have you ever wondered how many Pokemon teams you can make? Actually think about it for a minute. Pokemon, you have six slots, all of which could or could not be a Pokemon. You need at least one, but, you know, could be any amount, and then there's a minimum of, over 1,000. That's a lot of possible combinations. You could have repeats, they have different forms, there's a lot. I had this question myself, and then decided to try figuring it out and realized I'm not good at math. Yeah, so today I will be showing you the process and I guess rough estimate, because I'm not confident enough in my own mathematical skills, that this is the potential for every single Pokemon team you can make, just in general. This isn't game specific, just kind of in general thing. So yeah, I'm just gonna hop right into it. So first off, what exactly am I calculating here? What is this big game theory video I'm doing here? Well, it's just a simple idea. How many possible Pokemon teams can one have? The simple answer is you can have either 1 to 6 Pokemon. So that's kind of our starting line, okay? We have 6 slots, 5 of which can be empty. Note for later. But the 6 slots to work with, and you have all the Pokemon. Each Pokemon can take up a slot, and that's a whole other thing. But how exactly would we go about calculating this? Because now we're thinking about combinations, multiples. This is where the concept of permutations come in. What are permutations? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to be honest, I didn't know before recording this video. Long story short, from what I gathered, take it with a grain of salt, it's a mathematical principle that allows you to basically take any form of list and kind of go through it and figure out how many possible combinations of those elements you could make with or without repeating values. So in this instance, I can go through using this formula and this concept to take all of these different Pokemon, put them in the 6 slots, and then kind of figure out how many possible results would there be with these numbers. So that's the long story short. If there's anyone who's good at math, leave in the comments if my math is wrong, because it probably is. I'm not gonna sit here and defend it. It's in a range, you know. It's close to probably what the number is. I'm just not 100% certain that's the exact number. Now here's a question I don't think any of you asked. What counts as a Pokemon? Right? So if we have the 6 slots and we need to know how many Pokemon we can put in them, but we have the 1,025 different species as of right now. So is that it? Well, no, actually. Because here's the issue. And that is, each Pokemon individually, so many variables in what makes a Pokemon. Their location, in which they were caught in, the level they were caught in, their level, their IV's distribution, their moves, held item. There's so many things that make an individual Pokemon. So I was like, okay, let me just remove all of that. We're going to focus on visible things. If they are in your team and they look different, that is a consideration for a separate entry. That being said, that means we have to take into account every potential form in the game. And I don't mean if the sprite is different. I mean if, you know, not an ability. It is not like a move animation, no, it is a full other form that could be considered another form of said Pokemon, which is subjective across the board, so I will go through all the forms. Yay. We have 1,025 different species. We have the 5 cosplay Pikachu from Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, they count. The 8 Ashat Pikachu, yes, there is 8 of them. And then from here on out, since the rest of these aren't really costumes, basically all of these are going to be 1 less than the current number. For example, I'm going to say I added 27 unknowns. There's 28 unknown forms, but because one of them theoretically is counted as the total species, I'm not going to say there's that would just kind of weigh the unknowns. One unknown is already counted for, so I don't need to count it again, which is why I subtracted 1 from that list. There you go. So just to clarify. Anyway, we have 3 more Deoxys, 2 Burmese, 2 Wormadams, Shallows, Gastrodon, the Rotom forms, Palkia, Dialga, Giratina, Shaman, the 17 extra Arceuses because those are considered different forms, which is stupid. Basculin, Deerling, Sawsbuck, all the Therian forms for those Pokemon. Kyurem's fusions, Keldeo, Genesect with different drives counts as well. Vivillon, all of the different patterns for the Flabébé, all the different Furfrou cuts. Pumpkaboo and Gourgeist, before sizes were introduced, had sizes, and they're still considered separate forms, so we had to add those to the list. Zygarde, Hoopa, the Oricorios, Lycanroc, Savali, same thing with Arceus. The Meteors, Necrozma's fusions, Pokeball Magearna, Toxtricity, Sinistee, Poltergeist, all the Alcremie forms, that's freaking 49. Zacian, Zamazenta, because it's an item form, but it still counts because it's stupid. Urshifu, Zarude, Calyrex's fusions, Ursaluna, Maushold, Squawkabilly, Tatsugiri, the Dunsparce, Skimighoul, Poltergeist, Sinestria, all the Ogerpons. On top of that, we also have the 57 regional forms across Alola, Galar, Hisui, Paldea. Let's get even more obscure. How about the Spiky-eared Pichu event from Johto? And if we're going that far, how about all the Pokemon Go exclusive costumes? And this is not counting, like, you know, Ash Hat and Cosplay Pikachu. So on top of that, there's 219 specific exclusive event forms for Pokemon. Like, half of them are Pikachu. It's absurd. Also, gender differences would also have to count if we're going with that logic. So we have 73 more to the total. And lastly, because because these are considered separate forms, that means we need to take every Spinda pattern into the calculation. I'm not even bother reading it. Here's the number. Yeah, that is how many freaking Spindas you can have. There's such a small chance you will have a duplicate Spinda. It is insane. But we now have to factor that into everything else. And when you add up all the different forms, you have, am I reading that right? That's 4 billion. That is almost, yeah, that is 4 billion different forms because of Spinda. Reference, without Spinda, it's 1,625. Spinda adds a lot. So but that is the data set we're working with. That is how many individuals you could pick from. On top of that, slot 2 through 6, let's not forget, can potentially be empty. So we also have to take that into consideration. And with all of that, we plug in the calculations, factor in the potential for empty slots, whatever pattern for Spinda, and you get I don't even know how to read this. 6 septidecillion, 277 sextillion, 115 quindecillion, 976 quattrodecillion, 272 tridecillion, 97 duodecillion, 597 undecillion, 270 decillion, 862 nonillion, 355 octillion, 470 septillion, 432 sextillion, 247 quintillion, 488 quadrillion, 818 trillion, 375 billion, 312 million, 405,903 teams for Pokemon. I can't stress enough that, I'll put it in scientific notation so I don't have to repeat it, 6.277116 E plus 54. That's so many digits. We are in septidecillion. I don't even know what that means, but that is how far we have gotten, mostly because of Spinda. But there is. I can't even know how many digits that is. I don't know how many digits that is. How many digits is that? So that is how many possible Pokemon teams one person could have with all the different forms, gender difference, and costumes across all the games. You're never going to make a team of every Pokemon. Mind you, this is the small subset because we did not take into account things how Pokemon can have the individualness of moves, location, natures, all of that. So this is such a small portion of what that number actually would look like. And if you want me to calculate that number, because I have no clue where to start with that, let me know. I'll think about it. But you might have realized something. In all my calculations, I didn't take into account shiny Pokemon. Every Pokemon has a chance to be shiny, regardless if they look it or not. Shiny Pokemon are recolors of Pokemon, and are still considered separate than those original Pokemon. TLDR, that means if we include shinies in the mix, we now have to multiply our original numbers by 2. So here's our current list of every Pokemon. Oh my god, why is there so many now? Well, if we plug that in, we get an even bigger number. Fun! So if we count shinies on top of all the forms, species, all of that, the potential for teams becomes 401 octodecillion, 735 septidecillion, 422 sextillion, 762 quindecillion, 22 quadradecillion, 917 tridecillion, 404 duodecillion, 791 undecillion, 727 decillion, 535 nonillion, 185 octillion, 416 septillion, 292 sextillion, 303 quintillion, 78 quadrillion, 442 trillion, 586 billion, 541,691,344. Why is there so many? Why is there so many possible teams? It's also because of Spinda. I can't preface this enough that because I have to consider all Spinda patterns, and they're randomly generated between like 4 billion different kinds, we have to factor that in to our calculations, which skews it so much because most of these team comps, there's a Spinda mixed in. I can't stress that enough. Most of these team comps are Spinda related, or they are Spinda. They're just Spinda. Because most of the entries are Spinda. I seriously cannot stress enough how fat this list is because of Spinda. Without Spinda, the number is pretty tame. So I'm not going to bother with it because it's lame. But big numbers are funny, you know? So what did we learn today from my poor attempt at explaining math and explaining Pokemon teams? Cherish your Pokemon. Every single Pokemon team is very much unique. And if I were to actually factor in all potential variables, I probably would create a new number. I genuinely think there's so much that goes into a Pokemon on average that if I split that across the board, considered all the forms again, I probably could make a new number. Genuinely, it is that large of a set we are working with here. Because there's just so much that goes into a Pokemon. And I feel like a lot of people take that for granted, but there's so much that goes into a Pokemon. Your Pokemon, if you are playing Pokemon right now, if you boot up your game, that Pokemon you look at is so specific coding and so specific every little detail of it that it is unique to your account. You're not finding another Pokemon like it unless it's a distribution. Unless it's a distribution, that Pokemon, I guarantee you, is unique and you're not finding another one like it. Not another Psyduck, not another Cinderace, not another nothing. That Pokemon is unique and you better cherish it. That's been my poor attempt at explaining math. Thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to share and subscribe if you want to see me try more random things like this. Or at the very least talk about Pokemon because I do that a lot. And with that being said, I wish you all a lovely day.